Used to this, but seems to be well. I think I'm live. I think I'm live on Instagram. Hello, Instagram people. And I think I'm live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Hello, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube people. This is me, Owen Fitzpatrick, talking to you today about managing your life. In particular, we're going to look at habits and we're going to look at focus, two important elements. What are the habits that you have? Welcome, Nina. Welcome, Amel. Welcome, Santori. Welcome, Marco. Good evening to you. Azrev, Liliana, great to see you. Please do comment if you're watching this on Facebook, if you're watching this on LinkedIn, if you're watching this on YouTube. Give us a comment if you can. Let us know that you're listening in. We've got plenty of people already on Instagram. You're very welcome. Hey, Chantal, how are you? Hello, Ali, how are you? Good to see you. Hope you're all keeping very, very well. Hello, Azrev. Great. Still waiting to hear. I'm hoping that I am showing up on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook. Oh, there we go. There we go. Hey, Heather. Hey, Carola. Good to see you both. We've got Deborah joining. We've got a great group. Great. Marco as well. Amel, hello. How are you? So, welcome everyone. Hey, Cindy. How's it going? Welcome everyone to this session on managing your mind, or managing your life, rather. Yesterday, we talked about mastering and managing your mind. So we looked at what are the kinds of things that you need to do in order for you to be able to create the right kinds of emotions. And we talked about things like, finding time and identifying time that you can spend on your brain chemistry, what we call the brain gym. We looked at being able to leverage your weaknesses. We looked at being able to audit your propaganda. We looked at your ability to be able to identify your triggers and to do something about them. And we also looked about what is it that you can do to be more effective at categorizing and identifying your emotions, what we called emotional granularity. 5 strategies you can immediately use to be able to get you the kind of results that you want. Let me know in the comments, any of you who applied anything we talked about yesterday already and has found it useful. Hey, Jason, how's it going, mate? Hey, Enzo. Let me know in the comments. Hi, Patricia, how's it going? Anything that you learned yesterday from me that you tried or you applied and how it went for you. Let's start with that before we get into managing your life. Today, as I mentioned, I'm going to be talking about 4 things. So we're going to look at 2 strategies you can use to, I suppose, master your focus, to become more focused, to handle distractions, interruptions, whatnot, and to be much more focused in what you need to do. And then second of all, we'll look at 2 more strategies on how you can change habits or how you can build the kind of habits that you want moving forward. Some really good techniques there that might benefit. Heather said, really liked the brain gym yesterday. I'm starting to complete my list. Fantastic to hear it, Heather. Thank you. Hi, Elia. How's it going? Hi, Vasilius. How's it going to you? We got Sergio. Great to have everyone here. Hey, Jilly. How are you? Great to see everyone. So what I'm really looking to do in this particular session, as I said, is talking about mastering your focus and then mastering your habits. And so the first technique, Tom, before I get to that, Tom says emotional granularity. I've been working on this the last year specifically. Fantastic. Great to hear it, Tom. And great to have you part of the group as well. Hey, Gregors. Good to see you, Greg. Amel, I did. She tried to leverage my wrongness and it worked. Fantastic. Great to hear it, Amel. Fantastic stuff. This is what this is all about. This is about making sure you're implementing what you've learned. Hi, Jerry. How's it going? Good to see you again, my friend. Good to see all of you. And let's get started with the first tip or the first strategy that we'll talk about today. Now, the first tip is to do with managing your focus. And it's what I call the why to focus. Now, we talk about the question why a lot. And the question why is right about uncovering the reasons behind something. And oftentimes for example, hi, Marie, how's it going? Oftentimes when we use it in terms of, for example, therapy or NLP, it's not always as useful because when you ask the question why, oftentimes people go into explanations and stories as opposed to helping you understand the way in which they look at things. But why is a very useful question from a motivational standpoint. And it helps us to motivate ourselves because why do we need to do this? Why is this important to us? Will tend to get us. Why are you doing this? Will tend to get us to focus on what motivates us and what gets us making the right progress, moving towards where we want to get to. So that's all great. But here's what a lot of people don't realize. When you use the question why, that can actually be a really powerful tool to supercharge your focus. So why does this work, right? Well, if you think about it, if I'm about to sit down and I'm trying to read through some studies, or I'm trying to do some research, or if I'm trying to respond to emails, or I'm trying to focus on creating a project, what I need to do is I need to ensure that my brain is 100% driven to focus. And by driven to focus, what I really mean is your ability to be able to want to focus as much as possible so that it becomes a priority. In other words, you're not going to focus on something nearly as well if it's not a priority. So that begs the question then, well, how do you make something a priority? How do you organize your priorities in that way? And the simple truth of the matter is that if you want to make something a priority, you need to leverage your ability to motivate yourself, and you need to make the stakes bigger and stronger, and you need to intensify the feeling to the point where it's so strong that it drives the kind of action that you want. And so what this practically means is, if you want to motivate yourself, you start with what I call the why to focus. In other words, before you start anything, you ask yourself, why am I focusing on this? Why is this the most important thing I have to do now? Why do I need to get full concentration for this? Why do I need to give this my full attention? You ask yourself those questions before you sit down and focus. And when you answer those questions, those answers will give you the trigger, well, will trigger the release of dopamine, which increases neuroplasticity, which means that you're going to learn better. But it also ensures that you're much more driven to be curious, and curious about what you're trying to be focused about. So be very clear. What are you trying to get from this particular focus session? What are you trying to do with this particular session? What is the key to this? And the more you ask that question, why do I want to focus on this? The more that's going to stimulate you to be in the best possible frame of mind so that you can effectively and efficiently stay focused and stay disciplined to avoid the distractions or interruptions that might get in your way. Why? Because you know that this is the priority. Your focus in this context is the priority for you. And you need to be really, really good at doing that. So that first strategy is the why to focus. And it's just being sitting down before you're about to do something and saying, why is this important? Why do I need to focus on this? Why do I need to get this done? So hopefully that makes sense. Hey, Gabe, how's it going, mate? Good to see you, my friend. So that's the first strategy. The second strategy, again, the second one, which will be all about focus, is a strategy I learned only a couple of years ago called what I call ceiling shifting. Now, this is a little bit out there, but bear with me. So often when I'm doing different types of work, I find that the environment around me affects how effective I am at that work. And so, for instance, there's certain types of work that I need to be super focused in. If I'm working with numbers, if I'm analyzing data, if I'm trying to really understand something, if I'm responding to specific emails, then I'm tunnel focused. And I want to be tunnel focused, just thinking about specific things. But other times, I want to be more creative. I want to expand my thinking a bit more. I want to come up with new ideas. And if you've ever noticed that you're more likely to come up with new ideas when you're outside, when you're walking, when you're in big rooms. And this is based upon the premise that there's a suggestion, and some research has backed this up, that when you're in a room, if you've got very high ceilings, it's easier for you in bigger rooms with higher ceilings to be more creative in those rooms. And if you're in a room with smaller ceilings and smaller rooms, it's easier to focus in on specific sort of analytical work. And so when I say ceiling shifting, what I'm suggesting is that if there's a way that you can do some of the creative work you have to do in rooms which have higher ceilings, and some of the more analytical work you can do in lower ceilings, that could actually be quite beneficial. And you might say to me, well, Owen, I've got an office. I can't change my office. I'm not going to, I'm not going to be able to do that. But even where you sit in the office might make a difference, just in terms of your vantage point of how much space that you have in front of you. The more space you put in front of you, the more creative you can be. Another sort of hint or tip on this would be, if, for example, you want to do some creative thinking, maybe go for a walk and bring your phone with you to note down some ideas on the phone. Expand your environment, and it will help you to expand your focus. Whenever I'm on the plane, right, I get loads done. Like if I'm having a 7-hour trip from Dublin to New York, that's 7 hours of solid work. And I always do the analytical stuff, because that's the stuff that I find I'm very tunnel focused. I'm in a small plane with a small, ceiling. Therefore, I'm super focused for that time. Whereas in other contexts, again, you want to open it up to yourself. Very, very effective strategy, right? And so what's really critical about this is that you're leveraging your environment to make it more conducive for you to be focused. We know about, turn off your phone, remove the email distractions, all that sort of stuff. We know all about that. But when it comes to actually organizing, getting us into the frame of mind where we're creative versus when we're, focused on analytical things that we have to actually get done, you can actually alter your environment in that way as well, right? The more expansive the environment, the more expansive your mind. The more specific the environment, the more specific what your focus or attention will be on. So that's called ceiling shifting. That's number 2. Now, if we merge away to habits, right, and we'll do number 3, and this is directly connected towards changing habits. It's one of my favorite strategies. And it's if you're ever trying to create a new habit or you're ever trying to change a habit, what is something that you can do effectively? Well, let me give you a real life example. I don't like running. I'm not a big fan of running, but I run regularly. I run 3 or 4 times a week. And whenever I'm motivating myself to run, one of the strategies I've learned to use is what I call temptation bundling. And temptation bundling is when you're doing something that you're not a big fan of, but you need to get into a habit of doing this, right? And so what you do is you add a temptation to it. In other words, what I do is I love podcasts. Now, I know I have my own podcast, shout out to Changing Minds, which will be rebranding and relaunching in May. So keep an eye out for that. But I love listening to podcasts. And I have a few favorite podcasts. But what I do is I don't let myself listen to it unless I go out for a run. So I have specific podcasts that I love listening to. And I give myself a rule that I can only listen to that podcast when I'm running. And what you're doing there is I'm taking the temptation and I'm bundling in to what I need to do into what I want to do. I'm connecting the two together. So I go for a run and I'm going to listen to my favorite podcasts. And as a result of that, I want to go for a run, not because I want to go for a run, but I want to go for a run because I want to listen to my podcast. And the only way I can do that is if I go for the run. It's a really, really great strategy. Highly recommend it. Maybe it's a piece of music. Maybe it's, you associate something with watching your favorite TV show, whatever it is. But you bundle what you want to do with what you know you have to do or what you think you should do. And by doing that, it allows you to be much more motivated to take the action that you're looking for. So that's a really great strategy around your habit. And then the final one, also to do with habits, is what we call habit stacking. And habit stacking is what you're doing when you're trying to link a number of habits together. So, for example, you've got one habit that you engage in all the time, right? Let's say, for example, you're great. I'm sure everyone listening to this, I'm sure, are great at brushing your teeth regularly, right? Or you're good at washing your face, right? So whenever you've got a habit like brushing your teeth, washing your face, or, let's say, for example, you've worked really hard on taking breaks every hour, right? That's a habit that you've already built. Habit stacking is when you stack another habit with that particular habit. So, for example, let's say you're saying, I'd love to drink water more regularly. Well, what you do is you make it so that when you take your breaks, which is already a habit for you, you also make it so that part of that break is you drinking a glass of water. So in other words, you're associating a habit you want to have with a habit you already have, and you're making it so that every time you do the routine that you already do, you're incorporating it in. You're incorporating in the new habit that you want to engage in. So every time you take a break, you drink some water. Every time you go for a walk, you also do some stretches. Right? You already go for the walks, so you want to do some stretches. So link the stretches to when you go for a walk. So habit stacking makes it a lot easier for you to be able to engage in habits because you're associating them with something that you're already doing. You're making things easy for yourself in that way. It's very, very effective. So you've got temptation bundling, where you think about something that you really want to do and you link it with something you have to do. So when you do what you have to do, it also makes it so that you enjoy what you enjoy the experience that you want to have, and you create an association between the two as well. And then second of all, habit stacking. And with habit stacking, what you're really ultimately doing is you're figuring out something you're already doing, and you're linking a new habit and you're incorporating a new habit into it. So it becomes second nature. Now, with habit stacking, you got to do it on purpose for the first, week, 2 weeks or so. So every single time you take a break, you take the water. Every time you go for a walk, you do the stretches, whatever it is. But by doing it a number of times, it then becomes part of the habit. You've stacked one habit on top of the other, which is really, really powerful and effective. This is some of the stuff that I've covered in one of the courses that will soon be available online. It's available to members at the moment, called Habit School. But there's no way you can currently buy it unless you're a member. So I won't tease you anymore about that. Let's go to, thanks very much, Jerry. Patricia says, this makes so much sense to me. I have a small, tiny workshop for repairing typewriters. It works so well for me. My old workspace, very open to many distractions. And this is in relation to point number 2 about ceiling shifting, whereby, whenever you're in a small room with a small ceiling, it's better for analytical work. Whenever you want to be more creative, it's better to get more expansive work. Heather says, my desk is in front of a wide window. Now I see why I'm almost over creative at times. I have trouble focusing in on more analytical work. I'll change to the second desk in the corner for that now. Perfect. Love it, Heather. That's real practical applications here. Jerry, super. Thanks very much, Jerry. Very easy to grasp benefits and logic. Fantastic, Jerry. Let's check in with Instagram. Let's see if we've got anything here. All right. Amel says, does it work when you have to marry someone, but you love another woman? Does it work, temptation bundling or habit stacking, when you have to marry someone, but you love another woman? I'm going to plead the Fifth Amendment on that one. I think that, I don't know, I'm sure maybe that's just a joking question. Just on the off chance that it's not, I would say that if you have to marry someone, but you love someone else, well, that's something that you need to make a decision on. And, if you don't love the person you're supposed to marry, then I think that's the clue right there. So, yeah, I hope, I'm not 100% sure what you were asking, but I'm hoping that made some sort of sense, Amel. So, but thank you for the question. Jason said, I need to change my space when I need to do different types of work. Fantastic. Excellent, Jason. And again, that's a great action item for you to take away. Cindy says, all of this really useful. Fantastic, Cindy. Great to hear it. Grace says, very interesting information. You're very welcome. You'll implement it in your life and share with your mum to motivate her more. Please do, Greg. That would be great. Please do. That would be super. And do share this. It's a question from a friend. I'm really not convinced. Yeah, no, I think the reality is that if you love someone else, depending on your culture as well, you also have to factor that in. It's never easy, but I would say that when it comes to habits or temptation or whatnot, it's of limited benefit to huge life decisions. So I definitely wouldn't recommend trying to convince yourself to marry someone with just these techniques, right? This is great for habits. It's great for changing your life from one behavior to another, but for big life decisions, it wouldn't be the thing. You're very welcome, Amel. Ali, temptation bundling, a great idea. I'll try it. Fantastic. Great to hear it. Excellent. If there's any other questions, let me know. I'll stick around for another couple of minutes. But for now, let me do a quick recap. In terms of managing your life, yesterday we talked about managing your mind. And next week, by the way, on Monday and Tuesday of next week, a little bit later on, about 4 p.m. Irish time, we're going to be looking in and deep diving into, or not 4 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Eastern time, beg your pardon. That will be about 8 p.m. Irish time, 9 p.m. Central European. We're going to be talking about managing your influence and influencing other people. We'll be talking about that on Monday, and then we'll be talking about your future in terms of setting goals and some really cool ideas, strategies around that as well. So we'll be covering that on Monday and Tuesday of next week. But today we talked about managing your life. We looked at focusing. The first thing is ask yourself, why am I focusing? Like, why does this matter? Really get a good answer for that. That's going to streamline your focus very effectively. And then we talked about the other focus technique, which is ceiling shifting, the practical environmental shift. Try to do your creative thinking in wider spaces and more expansive spaces, and your more focused thinking in smaller spaces. It'll make it easier. You're very welcome, Steph. And then also we talked about habits. So temptation bundling, which is really about associating something that you want to do with something that you don't want to do, and associating the two together. And then also we talked about habit stacking, and that is really taking something you already do and linking something you want to do with what you already do. Really, really helpful and useful. These are all, by the way, things that I've done and practiced myself. And I've found very, very helpful and very, very useful. So I'm sure that you'll be able to do that as well. Ali's looking forward to the seminar in April. Fantastic. Looking forward to you coming as well. I know it's going to be great. By the way, for anyone that's interested, you can still get your tickets. We are getting close to selling out. We'll be closing the doors soon. But in the meantime, get your ticket to the Change Your Mind seminar at owenfitzpatrick.com/seminar. 3 days with me in Dublin. There's a great group coming from more than 12 countries now at this stage. So I'm really excited for it. It'll be 3 days in the heart of Dublin City. Really hope you can make it. owenfitzpatrick.com/seminar. And also next week, we're going to get back to, as I said, managing your influence on Monday. And we will get to managing your future on Tuesday. So hoping you're enjoying these sort of like mini webinar things. I'm enjoying doing them. They're fun. Got to keep changing from like Instagram to Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. But I'm hoping you find them useful. Great. Patricia's going to implement the habit stacking. Fantastic, Elia. Great. Looking forward to seeing you in Dublin. Sam will listen again. Excellent. Jill is saying thanks as well. Thanks, Jilly. Take care, everyone. Be well. And may the forces always be with you. And I hope you found this useful today. You're very welcome, Marie. Take care. Be well, everyone. And thanks for checking in.